Cheers and happy second anniversary to me. It's 2 years almost to the day since I uploaded onto YouTube my very first video. And I thought it would be fun to celebrate that and to talk about the future of my channel. So I started on YouTube because I so enjoyed the over 50, over 60 women that I'd been watching on YouTube, which I really started to look into in 2020. So during lockdown, I remember finding Justine Leconte, I think she's called, and she did a video where she recommended 10 channels. I'll link it down below for you. And she recommended 10 channels that she loved, and I looked at some of them and I did really enjoy watching some of them, and I ended up going down a kind of rabbit hole and finding women, particularly of my age, or around my age anyway, maybe a little bit younger to be honest, because I'm 68 and a half now, so I was 66 and a half when I started. Oh my gosh, can you believe that? So I really enjoyed going down that rabbit hole and finding all these women. But the one thing that was missing was women based in the UK. Now, I know I've talked about this a bit on my channel before, but I felt there was a hole that needed filling, so to speak. And I thought that I could fill that hole by being the British woman who talks about beauty and lifestyle, who is well over 60, you know, more like pushing 70 now. So I've tried to fill that hole in the last couple of years, and I haven't done too badly. I've got over 1,000 subscribers, but I haven't really made a massive inroad into the subscriber numbers. So I'm hoping that in year 3, which I'm about to embark on, I'm going to make a difference there. But I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But before I do that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I've learned in the last 2 years on YouTube. So the first thing I've learned is that you can't get subscribers like that. Just because you've uploaded, it doesn't mean that anyone is going to find you and watch you. And I think I ended up with around 30 subscribers, some of whom are probably mates, for a good few months. So it was in April when I started in 2021. And it wasn't until I did a video which ended up having 15,000 views, which for me and my little channel is amazing, about the Lisa Eldridge Foundation, which she released in, I think it was October or November 2021. Because I bought the little cards, and I was obviously capturing the zeitgeist there, because I bought the little cards and I did a video on testing them, and I knew, well, I felt in my waters anyway, that if I uploaded the video or I published the video at the time that the foundations were going to be released to the public and not just in the cards, that I would get a little bit of traction. Well, it was amazing. My subscriber list grew to 300 from 30, I think. So it was an amazing jump that I had. But since then, growth has been incredibly slow. And it's for various reasons. I understand that. It's very difficult. Your visibility on YouTube depends on so many factors that it is really, really hard. And sometimes it works very quickly and sometimes it doesn't. And it obviously hasn't done for me. So I think that's probably the first thing that I've learned is you're very unlikely to be an instant success on YouTube. Now, the second thing that I've learned since I've been on YouTube is there is a whole language, particularly if you're in the beauty space, there is a whole language that you need to master and understand. So, for example, when I first started, I hadn't really paid attention, even though I was watching YouTube videos, at least had been watching them for a year or so, beauty videos. What on earth a doe foot was. A doe foot. I had to think, what on earth is... I didn't even know they were saying doe foot, these creators. I was like, doe foot. I couldn't quite understand. What it is what they're talking about, as I'm sure you know if you're watching this and you're into the beauty space. It's the applicator that's used to put concealer on. And the reason it's called a doe foot, I assume, is because it's a little spongy thing that looks a little bit like a doe's foot, right? You know, if you're a newbie to this kind of thing, you're thinking doe foot, what the hell is that? It's obviously an insider term. Anyway, so we've learnt what a doe foot is. We've learnt what an INKEY list is, which is the ingredients list. And it's not just short for ingredients, it actually stands for something, which I'll put down below for you, can't remember now. So it's an acronym, it's INCI. The INCI list, known as the INKEY list, but it is actually in effect the ingredients list on the product. And then there's all the terminology about the sort of skin you've got. If you've got polka dot pores, or you've got 11sies, or you've got marionette lines. I hate all those terminologies, actually. I hate them. I'm now starting to examine my face and go, oh my God, is that a polka dot pore? Or is that, well, I know what 11sies are and 11sies. It's not 11Zs, it's 11Zs. See, 11Zs in the UK is a time to have a cup of tea and a bun. That's what 11Zs used to be back in the day. 11s, that's what it is. 11s, not 11Zs, sorry, the gin. So I've learned a lot of this terminology and used some of it to inform the viewers that I have, that I know what I'm talking about. Now, the third thing I've learned about YouTube in the last couple of years is there's a big difference between how America speaks and how Britain speaks. Now, we all knew this anyway, because there was a famous saying that no one can quite attribute to anyone, but it's something like two nations divided by a common language. And there is something in that because, for example, we rarely use the term purchased. We tend to use the word bought. So I'll say, I bought this product. But actually, Americans always say purchased. I'm not sure I've ever heard them say, I bought a product. They always say, I purchased a product. So I think I've started doing that now as well. And the other thing that I've noticed that American creators do is they always say, I'm going to go ahead and do whatever it is they're going to do. Whereas we just say, I'm going to do this. Americans always say, I'm going to go ahead and do this, which is quite sort of formal, I think, and I quite like it. But I think British content creators tend to say, I'm just going to do this. They don't say, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm not quite sure why that is, but that's the way that we roll, I suppose. And we also say bag as opposed to jam. You know, when someone says, that's not my jam, we tend to say that's not my bag. But I do know that we say jumper when Americans say sweater. Now, the fourth thing I've learned since being on YouTube is that Americans never swear, but the Brits do. Or at least they're more likely to use the G word, maybe the F word even occasionally. Now, I don't use either of those because I don't want to offend anybody, but believe me, in real life, I have been known to use those words quite frequently. So it's been quite a learning curve for me to not do that. And the fifth thing I've learned on YouTube is that you have to have a thick skin and you have to not be afraid to be Marmite. Now, my American viewers might not know what that means, but being Marmite means that you're either loved or you're hated. And Marmite is a spread, it's horrible. It's some kind of like brown, savoury spread, which it's something that's either loved or hated. And it's just not for me. I really don't like it at all. But I think you have to understand that you will not appeal to everybody. I mean, I've been very lucky, actually. I have to say, I haven't really had any majorly negative comments. Of course, I'm probably inviting them now by doing this video. But I'm prepared for that because I do want to start speaking my mind a little bit more than I have done of late, or since I've been on YouTube actually. And that brings me to questions that I want to ask you, because I'm going to be changing a little bit the focus of my channel. I'm still going to be doing beauty, I'm still going to be doing lifestyle, but I want to do a little bit more about aging because I'm 68 and a half. And I think that being in the second half of your 60s, leaning very much and touching your 70s, is a whole different ballgame in many ways from being on the other side of 65. Because as we approach our 70s, we are very cognizant of the fact that we are in our third age, in our final third, if you like, because we're very unlikely to live past 100. Having said that, I want to live past 100 as long as I can be healthy and well. I'm not saying that we need to think about the fact that we're going to be passing away in the next 10, 20, 30 years at all, because I feel very positive about aging. I feel really thrilled that I've got to this age and I feel well, I feel healthy, I feel vital. And I suppose I'm conscious about time passing, partly because my mother only lived to 69, and that's not going to happen to me. She died when she was 69 and 3 months, I think. Now, that's not going to happen to me if I have anything to do with it. That's the point. So I've decided to try and focus more on our 70s, or those of us touching 70. Now, what do you think about that? Does that sound like something that you would be interested in? And would you like to see more content about women who are touching 70, or maybe have just arrived at 70 or in their early 70s, and what we care about, what matters to us? Now, it might be in the beauty space, it might be in the fashion space, it might be in the style space. But that's what I want to know from you, is does that interest you? Because I really want to get to grips with this, to niche down even further than I already have. But I think it will also help me to focus on what I think is important for us women in our 70s and what we care about and how I can help. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions. So what are your pain points, as marketeers would call them? So what concerns do you have, beauty related or otherwise? Do you worry about getting older and being less firm, being the opposite of infirm, in other words? Do you feel invisible? I mean, here's an example. When you look on YouTube, when I look at my statistics, I don't get any other demographics apart from 65 plus. So us 70-year-olds and over, we're not on there. And if you're retired, do you feel a loss of status? And do you find it hard to have a routine now that you don't have a job to go to? And are you lonely? Are you in your 70s? And do you feel that you are underrepresented on YouTube? Let me know. I'd really love to hear your comments. And thank you again so much for watching. I know I say this every time, but I cannot tell you how much YouTube has changed my life. I'm not earning any money from it yet, but I absolutely love doing these videos. I can't tell you. And what I really love most of all is the fantastic group of women that I've met, whether they're other YouTube creators or the fantastic women who support my channel by watching it every week and commenting on it. I am just so made up. And actually, a lot of you are in the States, and I so wish that I could meet you one day. And one day I hope I will. And thank you again so much for watching. It means the world to me. And I'll look forward to seeing you on my next video. Bye.